Alright, so I think this might be a case of not a fallen Grand Hero battle, but a forgotten Grand Hero battle. But nonetheless, we'll take a look at this guy and what he can do. Enjoy the video.
Let the lesson begin.
Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. Today's video is going to talk about Orson, our newest and greatest Grand Hero battle, or Lance Cav rather. So this one is probably like not going to be as talked about as much as, like, let's say Fallen Edelgard, who recently came out, and obviously that is a lot to talk about, or the disc counter refines, which definitely get a lot of attention. But I like to do my due diligence and make sure that you guys know what we get, because this guy will just end up in your barracks, or possibly your reserve barracks for some of you. And you know, maybe there's a few of you who play Sacred Stones and really like this guy's story arc. It's not actually too bad. He's not completely forgettable. So let's give him a bit of our time. So it'll be like a short and sweet video. I'll cover everything that you should know about Orson, how you could potentially use him, and how he compares to some of the other, probably more relevant Blue Lance cavalries. Alright, so first we'll talk about the weapon here, Orson's Lance, which is a preference weapon. I like to consider this a fallen Corrin, both male and female, in terms of its effect. So it's a lot of text, but essentially the less allies around you, the more stats you get. If there's no allies within 2 spaces, you get +6. If there's 1, you get 4. If there's 2, you get 2. And if you have too many friends, you get no stats. So essentially it's like a solo condition, but shrinks based on the amount of allies. There's also an additional effect here that's essentially a lull effect. Of everything, or rather a dull effect, so just no buffs on the enemy. That's pretty good as long as you have a max of 1 ally near you. And unfortunately the buffs are only attack and defense, not speed res. I feel that is a bit of a problem, but it's not too bad. Yeah, but the lull dull effect being only 1 ally and you still get 4 stats with 1 ally means that generally speaking, something like a male Corrin or Freya or just a single ally providing you a bunch of stats or support through ally support and just ward calves and such will be perfectly fine. And I think that's the ideal way to use him if you're going to use him as, let's say, a distant counter carry. But there is one other way that I think you should consider using him. So let's jump into it. His stat spread looks like this. It's very Quan-like, meaning very high attack, defense, and low-ish speed and res, but not unsalvageable. So it's pretty good, actually. The attack stat is pretty solid, and if you consider this weapon effect here, it's not too bad. And of course with defense 3 also being on the weapon, his defense stat is also pretty good. So it's actually a fairly good min-max stat spread. It doesn't need to be completely dismissed or memed upon. Unfortunately for Fodder, we don't get much. We literally get Vantage and Rouse. I did cover Rouse as a sleeper skill, so go check out that video if you do want to know my thoughts on Rouse skills. They're not awful, but they're not exactly amazing either, but you can go check that out if you want to. I don't really think he's worth necessarily foddering. There isn't really much to get out of this. It's not the most premium of things you've gotten, as with most Grand Hero battles. Okay. So first build I want to showcase is, of course, a pretty standard distant counter set for, I feel, light season should be the place to use him. I don't think he'll do anything meanwhile worthy on Astra. I don't think you can use him on Astra. Between Cyros and Thrasier and even Duma to some extent, he's gonna struggle a lot in Astra season because he has a very bad res stat, and speed is somewhat important as well. So don't use him in Astra if you want to carry with him, or if you want to use him. Plus he has some better synergy with Freya, who can provide cav buffs. If you have Freya on your core, I think he works better with Dagger as well, better color coverage, and Matilda as well, but that is a little bit of color overlap, and Lancina. So even M. Corrin, pretty good single support units to help him out. One other thing I want to mention, of course, is this is without mythic blessings, without any buffs, because everyone has a different scenario. So of course you can definitely add some speed, res, and HP stats. And of course, none of you guys will have a plus 10, at least for the next 2 months, but you can get yourself a perspective of how the stat spread looks. And in his bonus weeks, it'll look pretty similar to this because you get 4 to all stats. This isn't terrible, considering he has dull and a very impressive attack and defense. If the meta did favor more physical damage units on the enemy teams, then this would actually be pretty solid. And I have run into some teams that are more physical based where someone like this is going to be pretty good as an option. A second way to look at it, and of course once availability on near trace becomes more common, is his extremely high attack stat. So his extremely high attack stat, when you consider Orson's lance and just how his base attack is, he's gonna have a pretty easy time gale forcing. This combination will demand, I feel like, Valoria to bring his charge of gale force down to 2, or you are going to want to favor maybe a speed IV just to get his speed enough potentially to double, because with Peony giving you extra speed, maybe a speed link and such, his speed can end up in about 40s. Close to 50s, which means he can potentially double. As I said, serviceable speed stat, but I feel like his best partner, as with most Gale Force units, is going to be Valoria. The near trace lends itself really well to this like Gale Force playstyle as well, and he's gonna have no problem securing kills. Additionally, if for some of you wanted to use him in Arena without the dual skill, which we don't have yet, we don't have a B dual cav, and honestly if we did, that'd probably go to Reinhardt on 99% of people, but if you did want to use him in Arena, he does fit pretty well into what I would feel is win season, and that's because a lot of the prominent threats are red right now. Because of his enormous defense stat, he'll only take basically true damage from Legendary Sigurd, for example. You could even use like a stance 3, and if the Sigurd doesn't have quick impulse, you can deny outright getting hit by Holy Knight or a special. And again, combined with Orson's lance, huge attack and defense stat, he's really going to decisively win his matchups against, I would say, most red and blue physical threats, and maybe even some greens, because that isn't not a terrible defense and attack stat. Near trace as well gives some pretty nice mobility for Arena, and I think it has a good place there as well. All right, and of course, once a dual skill comes out, it would look something like this. And I'm not huge on melee units when it comes to using your dual skills, because I feel like it'd be better on ranged, because with range you can really manipulate AI if you know how the rally systems and threat ranges work. But again, if you really like Orson, he's one of your favorites, then this is going to be a solid way to use him. However, if you are meta conscious and you wanted a better and probably going to become a more prominent Blue Lance Cavalry, not featured here is Ingrid, who's really good on defense, but because of the existence of Fallen Edelgard, I would highly suggest Petrine. So, yeah. Here we go. I'm not going to talk too much about Petrine, but Flame Lance hitting res for great speed stat, for great attack stat, and the beast effectiveness should now become a little bit more relevant. You might happen to start seeing why someone like Petrine is not a terrible option as a Blue Lance Cav, and her rerun should be coming up soon. So I'm sorry for, of course, Orson fans, but there is better. But he's not like completely dead, because at least his stat spread is heavily favored with an attack and defense. Alright guys, so that pretty much sums up today's video. Thank you for watching it all the way through if you did. Short and sweet analysis on units who don't have too much to talk about. Orson is definitely one of them, but he's not the worst. At least he's not a Silver Lance user, right? If we had a Silver Lance user, it would be meme-tastic. But it's not that. He's okay. I don't think he's as great as like Ashnerd or even Fallen Delthea the years before, to be totally honest. But he's not dead either. So that's cool. Okay guys, so if you made it this far, you enjoy the content, enjoy the videos, as always, give it thumbs up. Thumbs up blue always helps out the channel, keeps it going, keeps this content flowing. You guys get more of me if you want me, and I keep producing and I find the free time to deliver this content to you. Sub as well if you haven't. There's plenty of you that are not. I'm watching you. Just kidding, of course. And of course, with that being said, thank you all for watching. You're all an amazing group of people. I will see you guys in the next one to come. Much love. Peace.
It's over.